Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. This episode of Slam the Gavel is sponsored by CPS Protect Consulting Services. A child protective services case is one of the most frightening experiences for any parent. Don't face it alone. Face it with confidence with Urgent Assist by CPS Protect. You can have access to former CPS investigators to make sure you preserve your rights and protect your family. If you're facing CPS involvement and aren't sure where to turn, their child welfare consultants can help you. Visit cpsprotect.com/subscribe and enter the coupon code Slam the Gavel for 10% off your first year of Urgent Assist. And this is available in all 50 states. I have another announcement. Bradley's mother narcissed passed away 5 months ago. Bradley is autistic and needs structured routine therapies he receives for his autism 6 days a week. However, Italy just entrusted Bradley to Italian social services. If he is ruled to go back, he will face the next 3 to 4 years in the Italian foster care system where he can't speak or understand the language. He will then be taken away from the only family he has ever known. Please call Governor Hochul at New York State 518-474-8390. That's Governor Hochul at 518-474-8390. You're also welcome to call the senator, and please voice your concerns to keep Bradley safe here in these United States. Hashtag keep Bradley safe. I have a brand new guest on. I have Brett LeClair on. His case has been entirely built on lies, and it's been a year and a half since it all started. And he had gotten his daughter for 10 hours a week, and he has completed everything they have asked him to do. And they tell him they won't give him his child back because he doesn't get along with his own family. Because he doesn't get along with people who would rather lie about him than help him. And this is how his life is going right now, and he's being forced to work with people that he just can't trust. And a lot of us have found ourselves in this situation. And I totally welcome you, Brett LeClair, to the podcast because I think a lot of us could relate to not being able to trust our own family members. So how are you at with your whole case?
Well, May 5th, we had a judicial review, and basically the judge finally heard everything I had to say and pretty much told DHS that they need to work with me. And this is I'm quoting the judge for his words, immediately with rocket boosters. And that was on May 5th. And I finally got an email from them yesterday.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Almost 3 weeks later.
And you just got this email yesterday.
Yeah.
What did that email entail?
She wants to come to my house. She wants to talk to me about all these other things, things that I've discussed and given answers to many times, such as childcare or who's going to care for my daughter. And every time I give them something, they just say no, like it's not good enough. So, like on May 5th, I was happy to hear the judge say that childcare is not a reason to keep his child from him, and basically told them, like, you guys, you're not doing it right, and you need to start doing it right. And apparently, that didn't sit well with them because I had to wait 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks. Sorry. And
So
this is pretty much how it's been going for the past year and a half. If I include the investigator who originally started, this is the 4th worker in this case now. Who said she'd be hands-on and is going to dive in and be right on with us. And she's a ghost. I barely hear her. I barely see her, but yet they have all this stuff to say about me.
I think we all can relate to that with these caseworkers. Now, did you have a guardian ad litem in your case?
Yep, he's the second one to this case. And he was over the week before we had this judicial hearing, and I talked with him and told him my plans. And when the judicial hearing came up, he said nothing about what I told him. Basically just tried to make it look like I don't have an idea of what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. And that was so not the case when he was here, because I answered every question very thoroughly, I thought. And now I'm just to the point like, well, if I'm going to keep giving you guys answers and you're just going to keep telling me no, then this is just going to go on and on and on. And it's never going to end.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I don't know what they want, and it's very frustrating because I've done everything and I just keep getting told no. I'm supposed to have her overnight. I'm supposed to have her overnights starting back in December. And now we're in May and I still don't have her overnight.
I'm so
But yeah,
sorry.
we're supposed to start a trial placement, and and I'm so tired of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Because is what they say goes apparently, and there's a whole different set of rules versus the laws.
And they just
And
can't.
that's what
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
and that's what I think a lot of us fail to understand, is that with them the laws don't matter. It just seems like they can wave it off. But if it was us, they would be pointing fingers.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. That I've heard this out of I don't know how many parents that, you know, they're making up the law as they go along. However, if we were in the wrong, oh, we would have plenty to answer for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I didn't talk to them for 3 weeks, I probably wouldn't be seeing my child,
Mhm.
or she'd be taken away, period.
Mhm.
Whereas, oh no, I gotta sit and wait, and then they want to apologize for their absence and say, oh well, this happened in her family last week. Okay, well, what about the week before? What about the Friday when we had court and the judge said immediately with rock boosters? What about all that other time? And then I'm just doing everything like they wanted me to, like starring my I's and capitalizing my T's and everything like that. And family is not helping. There've been no help whatsoever. And they just keep making things worse. So, like, for instance, I sent my daughter's car seat with her because I didn't know how long it would be, let alone if I would ever get to use it again for her. So, I don't need it. She does. So I send it with her. And then when I get to start picking her up, bringing her back to my place for unsupervised visits, all of a sudden the car seat's a problem for them to take out of their car. And if I can get another one,
Oh.
I'm not the one who has an issue with it. Why
Mhm.
should I have to get another one? I already bought and paid for one, let
Right.
alone the other one I had to buy for her when she was born. This kid had more furniture than I have, and she's four.
Right.
So, uh, it,
Oh, that's a shame because it's very simple to remove a car seat out of a car and put it into your car. It's
yeah,
not
it
rocket
takes literally
science.
2 minutes.
Right. And, this is your parents that are giving you problems?
These are my mother and my brother and his wife, and well, they're the only ones involved causing problems. So yeah. My father said he didn't want to get involved, stay out of it, but I mean, I really haven't talked to him much because of how my mother brought us up to view him. So, like, yeah, it's been like a big eye opener for the past 2 years of things.
I think a lot of people can relate to this. When your father says he doesn't wanna get involved, that means he's taking the side of the oppressor. I think that was Martin Luther.
That's usually what I've come to.
Mhm. That's a shame
But
that your
but they're divorced, so I really don't see him taking my mother's side for anything.
Mhm.
Maybe I don't know. There's a lot of family history there, so I really don't want to
Yeah, that's
say
okay.
what he's thinking because I honestly have no idea. So,
Hmm.
what I do know is I'd rather have him be in my daughter's life than her grandmother. So
Mhm.
because I don't know, she writes a letter to the judge saying I was arrested for assault, which is it was alleged I did, but I wasn't arrested for that. And then I mean, just like all of this others just putting me down, and he read it and he seemed almost disgusted by it is how it looked.
Mhm.
And he says he's not going to include anything that from her unless somebody advocates for her. And this is where it gets really messed up because my mother has never had anything good to say about my stepbrother or my stepmother, let alone my father. And now they're advocating for each other to a judge.
That's really
Yeah,
uh yeah,
mind blowing, but
it
it
is.
just obviously I was in the right to stay away like I was. Just
So your mother and the she didn't like the stepmother and obviously your father and even your brother, but now they've all somehow joined ranks and are
uh,
causing.
my my biological brother, he's not involved per se. I mean, I kind of talk to him, I kind of don't, but
Mhm.
that's just a whole nother thing itself. But yeah, I would say they teamed up to try to get me out. Is what it seems like. That's what it seems like since day one.
Mhm.
And I don't know what I did, but it couldn't have been this bad. I know that.
Well, in families, sometimes there is a scapegoat. You've got the scapegoat, you've got the golden child. I don't know if you've ever looked all that up.
Yeah, I'm the black sheep for sure.
Yeah.
The one who never did any good, the one who never had any direction, the one who always got criticized. And now that I'm 40 years old, I mean, my mother had the nerve, like, she asked me when I was staying with her. So I was staying with her before all of this started for a couple of months because she said we could stay there. But I mean, she had asked me, that, 38 years old, what are you doing with your life? And 2 years later, I finally have a good answer for it. Um, well, what did you ever support of me that you wanted me to do?
Mhm.
And because I can't think of anything, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't have an answer either. But it just was hand in hand.
Mhm.
I got a decent career going. You know, I make enough money where I can support my daughter, and everybody just wants to. Oh well, this is who you were, so this is who you are. No, it's not.
Mhm. Mhm.
Not anymore. People can change. Unfortunately, it took me a long time to do that. The birth of my daughter kind of put a lot more things in perspective very fast. And I originally thought I was doing it for her, but I did it for myself and for her.
Mhm.
Did it for myself so I could watch her grow up and raise her right,
Mhm.
which would be why I did it for her. But
Do you think your mother also gave your brother a low self-esteem?
sure, it was He 18 graduated. I don't even think he waited the whole summer after graduation before he joined the military.
I'm so sorry, I didn't catch that.
So my brother, he when he was 18, he joined the military right after
Okay.
high school. Like I don't even think he waited the 3 months, like for summer to be over with her. And I think it went in like July or something.
Mhm.
But that was like one of the best days of my life. That's why I remember that. Um, Honestly, I don't know because I don't remember hearing it much.
Mhm.
Maybe she did it to both of us at the same time. That could very much happen.
Is this do you think this is a generational issue with, how even she was raised, how your mother was raised?
My mother was raised, um, from what I've heard, pretty decently. I mean, yeah, my grandfather had an allergy and he had an addictive. He was an alcoholic and he had an addictive personality, but he wasn't any of those things when I knew him.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I'm sure she had a little bit rougher growing up, but I don't think they were told half the things that we were told
Mhm.
out of anger or frustration or because it seems like I don't know, my grandparents they were classy people. They loved fiercely and they took care of themselves and they were God fearing and to me they seem like great people. I mean, but I guess that's how it goes with grandparents and children and parents and children. I don't know, but I mean, she really never had much bad to say about them, and neither did my uncle when
Mhm.
I was talking to him and saw him. So I really couldn't say.
Well, it's hard to go through a family court with no family support, and I can relate to that because I only had 2 supportive individuals, and I was lucky to have my mother and father. But the other relatives, I think, and it's just my assumption that they went with the abuser. They were on the abuser's side. That's what I'm going with. But these things happen a lot to a lot of people, and you're not the only one, Brett.
No, I know that. Thank you. But you put me in touch with a community that's very helpful and understanding. They are there for us. So I encourage anybody who's listening to use those communities that are there for us because they will help.
Mhm. What community helped you the most, would you say?
The right now, the it's a Facebook group. It's just like parents, I guess, PS illegally kidnapping children, something like that. But there's been, I mean, endless amounts of cases where people are dealing with things kind of like this, maybe not as bad, but might be worse. I
Mhm.
don't know but it's people are there, they're willing to help, and they're willing to be helpful. They're not there to tear each other down because we all know how bad this can be
Mhm.
and how bad it gets. And I think if a lot of things were met with love instead of anger, this would be a much better place that we live in. But
Oh, I agree. And people helping instead of tearing each other down.
yeah, the lowest point in my life, I had nobody to help me.
Mm.
I'm gonna remember that for the rest of my life. They always had to turn their back or whatever. I don't know. But I do know one thing: they put it on paper, so that was their big mistake.
Yeah.
because then it becomes, I can do something about it once it's over with,
Mhm.
which is, as of late, hopefully tomorrow my lawyer will put in the dismissal for this case because they've just been so nonchalant and
Mhm.
not present, I guess you could say. So I'm really hoping that goes through before June 6th, but we have another case hearing again on June 6th because he wanted to check the status of what the department was doing and
Mhm.
make sure that they're doing their job. But I have an email 3 weeks later isn't immediate. So
Yeah. So this judge says, this is immediately with rocket boosters, and then 3 weeks later you get the letter. Usually when these judges write orders, at least from my experience, I would get the order within 2 days, or even the next day, which is kind of creepy.
yeah, everybody was there too. All the parties that were involved, like be it the resource parents or my lawyer or my ex's lawyer. I mean, she was there. Why? I have no idea. She has barely contacted my ex, who I don't blame any of this on. She was scared. I understand. She did what she had to do.
Mhm.
But as far as her lawyer ghosting her, I told her, you can send me the evidence and I'll bring it up to the judge, but I can't do it unless I have evidence. And she's shown it to me, but she just hasn't sent it to me. Why, I don't know, but that's it's just how she is sometimes. So
Hmm.
at least we have each other's back throughout this, even though in the beginning we were against each other. But it's part of co-parenting.
Right.
Just
So
I get along better with my ex than I do my own mother or stepbrother. That's pretty sad, especially when it comes to my child.
mhm. Now in the beginning with the co-parenting, you guys didn't hit it off so well, but then the co-parenting relationship strengthened later?
Yeah, we pretty much, well, we were separated from each other for quite a while, and then I think not having any contact with each other for a little bit because of a protection order that was put in place and the day that everything happened, and then it finally being dropped to, hey, I can talk to you again, and I really want Remy to be a part of both of our lives. Remy's my daughter.
Mm.
I'd rather work with her than against her because I think it's important for anybody to have their mother in their life
Mhm.
other than me. But um sorry. Um and she could watch it for me while I'd be at work,
Mhm.
and I'd figuring out things for daycare and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want her to have her all the time. I understand my daughter still has to go to school, but I mean, like after school, she can spend time with her mom while I'm there instead of where she's at now.
Mhm.
But so yeah, I mean, I want to work things out with her. I helped her raise her other daughter, Thea, who's
Hmm.
seven now. Yeah. I helped raise her since she was like 1.5 till about the age of 6.
Mhm.
And she knows she has a sister. Remy knows that Thea is her sister, and they do see each other, but it's not on mutual grounds.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's just a whole other story itself.
Mhm. Well, I mean, at least you're co-parenting great now.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it can be done, and you can help each other out with, watching your daughter, and you both probably just want all of this to stop, both of yous.
yeah. She's pretty fed up. as far as like progression in the case goes, I don't think she's done much of what they've asked, but at this point, I don't really blame her
Mhm.
because I've done everything and look at how they're treating me.
Right. Yeah, people don't realize that this is what happens you know, I don't know, was the guardian ad litem making you jump through hoops, or was it CPS?
The guardian ad litem told me if I got daycare solved, then this would be over. And I told him that I had it solved, and then he never mentioned a word of that. So I have a feeling they're both kind of doing it together. Maybe I don't really know. They both work for the government. That's all I know. So that tells me much more than I could say.
So when did CPS get involved in your case?
uh, what do you mean, like recently or like first at first?
I guess when it at first, because sometimes they go in and out of your case. I don't know if they got in your case and then they closed the case, then they reopened the case. They
No, it hasn't been closed at all. It's been open. I mean, we had another one that came up because of something else, but that was something totally different and it was closed and they didn't even talk about that in this time around. So no, it's taken away from us. They just did an investigation and found out that we weren't liable. So we weren't doing anything wrong, which is what we told them, but they don't care.
Mhm. And so now your mom has these kids, and it sounds like she doesn't wanna give them up?
Wait, sorry.
So does your mother have these your daughter, or it
Well, we were at my mom's for like 2 weeks in the beginning. And then that all ended because I was tired of taking abuse.
Mhm,
And then, but I mean, so in the beginning, when the kids got taken, she had to pick them up, and she had my daughter, and she had Remy's sister as well, and said she can't take care of both of them. So Thea's father picked her up 2 days later. Why? I don't know. He's only an hour drive away. Could have picked her up the same night or not at all. But
mhm,
my mom does not, no, she doesn't have my daughter. She's just trying to keep her from coming home because she thinks what she thinks. And that's
mhm,
that. She was on, she was on a lot of like anxiety and depression medications for a long time, and then when she wound up in the hospital basically in a medicated coma. And when I told the doctor about her pharmacy in her house, he cut her off of everything pretty much because she probably would have died had she kept on going.
mhm.
And cold turkey after being on this stuff for 10, 15 years, it's even I know that's not good,
Mhm, mhm.
especially at the age she's at. So I honestly I don't know what's going through her head because can't even tell a woman a joke anymore. I mean, I saw it when my brother came over there 2 years ago. He made a joke and it was like funny and really actually funny. And she started crying because she thought he was picking on her
Mm,
for even though it had nothing to do with her.
yeah. Well, something's
I
up
just,
there.
yeah, I know that. But I guess it's easier to blame me than it is for them to accept the fact that they have problems they need to work out.
Mhm. Yeah, it sounds like there's
Or,
a lot of projection going on. They've got issues that they're projecting onto you. Um, you know, this is so common, and these things. travel in families, it's just, almost like a common theme I hear with other parents that they've got problems with their own parents that are interfering in their case, trying to get their kids back, you know. What
Yeah,
advice?
she's pretty much trying to keep her from me. I get no credit for anything. Uh, Sobriety for 5 years, not a word of that. It's he's an addict. He's still an addict. He does drugs. Sorry, no, I haven't. I haven't had a dirty Pete in over 4 years. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just things like that. Oh, he's been in and out of jobs. Okay, yeah, because I didn't find something I was happy with, and now that I finally have, they're gonna trash on that because I make enough to support myself and my daughter. So,
Mhm.
and then it's, oh, he hasn't had a steady place to live. Well, the shortest time I've ever lived in any place was 1 month, and that was by myself. The longest time I ever lived in any place was obviously the house I grew up in, but other than that was another apartment for 5 years.
Mhm.
And that was all right before the case started. No mention of that. No mention of either thing. One bit.
Yeah, that's a shame because a parent can, give a child self-esteem. That's what the parent's job one of the jobs is to build up your child's self-esteem, and doesn't sound like your mother did that. It's, just dragging you down.
I often wonder what it would have been like had they actually been embraced
Mm,
versus torn down. My daughter, I thought like she had a book showing her how to write and draw numbers and spell them out. And she's like, I don't know how to do this. I was like, okay, so I'll show you.
mhm.
And I did. And then she tries to do it again. And she's like, I can't do it. I'm like, yes, you can. You just have to remember how. And we'll go through it again and again and again and again and again until you get it right. But I wasn't saying, all the negative stuff. I wasn't saying, well, you're just a kid, so you're not gonna get it. So why even bother, or something like that. I just no,
Right.
we're gonna do it and we're gonna try it until we get it, and you're gonna learn. And
Mhm.
it's gonna be not like how I went through it. That's for sure.
Mhm. Oh, I used to get screamed at the dinner table because I could not figure out math. Sorry, math is not my strong point. But my
And then they
father.
changed it.
Yeah, to worse, and now it's worse.
Like
Common Core Math, isn't that what it's called?
I don't even know. All I know is I don't want to learn it.
Yeah, it's stupid now. I don't even know why they're teaching that. They should just kept things the way they were, be a lot easier for all of us. And,
Yeah,
we still learn math, you know, that way. It's just I don't know, you know?
yeah. It's literally the only subject that was useful in school.
Mhm.
Yeah, everything else we learned, we're finding out was either wrong or wrong. So,
Yeah. Well, it sounded like when you were helping her with her homework, you did really well. You were patient and you didn't scream at her and you went over it and over again because, sometimes when you're learning something, you have to go over it a couple times. I'm that way. S- I'm more visual, but you got to be patient and you did really well with that. So, you know,
thank you. Yeah, I don't want to. I have enough negativity in my life. I don't need it to spill into hers.
mhm,
She's gonna see it no matter what. I mean, I can't keep that from her, but I don't have to enforce it with her.
mhm,
I don't have to, I don't have to.
mhm,
I just want her to be happy and smart
mhm.
and grow up be self-sufficient and be in a better place than I was anyways.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can hope for, but try to get her there in the process.
Mm-hmm. I think you will, eventually when this whole thing hopefully goes away soon.
I'm hoping it will. My lawyer's put in a notice for dismissal, and then we go back on the 6th. So we'll see.
Right. I just hope the stupidity can be stopped, and you could just go back to co-parenting like normal people would do after, you know, the relationship didn't work out.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't think I'll be doing much with my family after this. So
Right.
I was apparently right to keep them away,
Mm-hmm.
which is obviously I was very right about that. Is all they've shown me. So the ones who didn't get involved, the ones who decided to stay away and not say anything, well, I mean, if they want to come around, I guess that's okay. But I'm not gonna put up banners for them or send out
Mm-hmm.
invitations.
Right. Well, who can blame you? Really?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't get along with their family, so it's a shame it's like this.
Yeah, because I mean, I've tried to work with them. Like I've talked to them and been like, hey, we should get along for her sake, and they do not want it to happen at all whatsoever. And I don't know what that's about, but
Mhm.
I don't really care to find out. I'm okay with it.
Mhm. Well, I mean, the blessing is you are co-parenting really well with your ex. Is her family
Yeah,
good to you? I mean, I don't know if you associate with them much, but
she doesn't have much of a family. Her parents passed away, and she has a half brother somewhere. That's about it.
oh, that's a
So
shame.
she has a half brother, and yeah, that's about it.
Hmm. That's hard.
She's lonelier than I am, I thought. But
Aw. See, yeah, and your daughter, needs to have, even grandparents in her life, but they have to respect you as a father, or they're not a good grandparent. In order to have
I
this
agree with you 100%.
but because, when you say grandma wants to babysit, you wanna know that when you take your child over that grandma's not saying, "Oh, your father, the son I raised, he sucks." You don't want your kid hearing stuff like that. You don't know what she could
Pretty
say.
much. No, I don't. And I've often heard her talk about my brother in front of me and my stepbrothers. It's whoever doesn't show up for the holiday meal, that's who they talk about. So I'm sure I've been the topic for the past 6 years. I didn't talk to them for 3 years up to before this.
Mm,
I stopped talking to them because they tried to tell us what to do with Alexa's daughter, Thea. And
mm,
we just didn't want to argue with them anymore and wanted them to treat our kids the way we wanted our kids to be treated versus what they wanted to do. And that wasn't okay with them. So we stopped letting her go over.
mhm,
And then when they asked why, we told them that, and it turned around. So, I'm not going to argue with that. It's like, hey, this is what you did. This is what you did wrong. No, we didn't. You're just being ridiculous. Okay, well, then our kid's not going to come over anymore. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned into an argument. And that was pretty much how it was left for 3 years until they were injected back into my life, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Because when DHS asked me to go to the office, I didn't have anywhere to bring her. I admit that. But I could have gotten a hotel room. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But when they said that they'd be a resource for Remy, they asked me if I think they'd be a resource for me. I told them no. I was like, no, they said they would never help me. They said they would never be a resource for me. They told me they hated me, like words out of their mouths, things that they've said to me. And DHS just thinks they're wonderful and they do no wrong. Grass is greener, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't know. They
Huh.
see we don't get along now. I don't know. I've heard comments from my ex, from the worker, saying like she knows that they do this or they antagonize and try to provoke things. And it's like, well, if you guys see this, then how come you're not doing anything about it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they're not doing anything about anything when it comes to me. So hopefully 3 more weeks, this will be over.
Well, most definitely. I'd like to have you come back on to the podcast for an update and let everyone know how you did.
Absolutely.
What piece of advice can you give someone going through your situation?
Don't listen to it. Don't let anybody else tell you who you are, because you can always change anything you want to
Mm-hmm.
at any time. And if you really are willing to do anything for your children, then you'll do that. You know, and I had to change a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I went to anger management. I didn't think I needed it. And a year after I was done, I was like, if there was one person in the world who needed it, it was definitely me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's giving you a different way of thinking about things
Mm-hmm.
and approaching it,
Mm-hmm.
should you have to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
The yeah, the negative, just don't pay attention to it, because it's always going to be there, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what you do. No matter how much of a golden child you try to be, no matter how much you do right, it's never going to be enough. So just don't pay attention to it, because that's what they're looking for.
Yes. Yeah. They're looking for your weakness.
Yeah.
Now, how
And
can,
once they get one, they usually like to exploit it.
oh yes. I've been a victim of that as well. You know, if anyone has any questions, how can they reach you?
You can email me, Brett.A.LeClair, it's LECLAIR at Gmail.
Okay. I'll put that in the podcast notes, but don't jump off, okay?
Okay.
Okay, Slam the Gavel's a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again here with Brett LeClair in the future and other exciting guests. Thank you so much, Brett.
Thank you, Mary.